Hey everybody, what's going on? It is technically 12:01. It's supposed to be noon. Meredith was yakking away though. I kept telling her, you got to stop talking. I'm just messing with you. Um, how's everybody doing? Today's going to be kind of a special, I keep almost saying episode because I keep thinking of the Jared James Today show, but today is going to be a special broadcast that I think these ones are the ones you guys get the most out of. So I'm super excited about that, and I will go into that in a second, and I will have Meredith's been on here with me before, but we brought her back to bring you guys some more great value that I think you're really going to love. In the meantime, let me welcome all of our new people. I know we've had a lot of new signups. It's been 2 weeks since our last broadcast because last week was 4th of July for those of us in the U.S., as I am. So we've had a 2-week break. Before that, we kind of went over the mid-year review, being intentional about your business, and it really kind of flows right into what we're going to talk about today, because today we're going to be talking about the point system and the process and what we do and what somebody like Meredith is doing that's really helping her out. If you're new, if you signed up in the last 2 weeks, first off, welcome. You can ask questions while we're doing this. You can send them to me on Twitter at JaredJamesToday. In fact, you know what I'll do right now for you guys? I'll actually put it right below here. This is my handle in just about everything that I do. So let me pull that up for you guys just to make it easy for you. Go, bam, bam. You guys should see that now. So at Jared James Today, you can send them to me by Twitter. You can put them right below you as our Facebook group, where you can post questions there as well. I'll be keeping an eye on those. If you have questions for Meredith while we're doing this, or for myself as we're doing this, you can send them to me on Snapchat, the #1 place that I respond to every single person that sends me a question. And if you have sent me a question I didn't, I apologize. Sometimes they get lost or mixed in the shuffle, but I do try to respond to every single person on there personally. So that's another way. But today, the reason why Meredith is on here, because for the second straight time, you're becoming, I was going to call you the Lance Armstrong because you bike, but that's not such a great thing anymore. Yeah, you're right. Are you taking some kind of enhancer here to make you win these points, or? Yeah. So for the second straight time, Meredith has won. Among our one-on-one students, we do a points challenge, and I'll have her kind of explain how that works and what it is. But Meredith's won for the second straight time, which I love because she earned it, period. I can tell you, if I was one of the other people in our one-on-one program and I saw the same person win twice, personally, I'd be ticked off. It would be my goal to just pulverize Meredith in the next points challenge, which starts actually 10 days ago, or 10 days ago. So that would be my goal. But with that being said, let's have a conversation. Let's help a lot of people out right now. Guys, take out whatever you're going to do to take some notes. You're going to want to take notes, ask questions today, because this is going to be a good one for you. We'll probably go a little bit longer than we usually do. If you're watching this after the fact, which so many of you will, you can still send us your questions in the Jared James Coaching Facebook group, or by Twitter, or Instagram, or not by Instagram, Snapchat, or whatever it may be. But let's start right off. Meredith, why don't you say hello, tell them what the points challenge is, what you've done, and let's get right into it.
Sounds good. My name is Meredith Lee, and I'm from Pierre, South Dakota. And I have been doing the points challenge. Like Jared said, this was the second quarter. The points challenge just keeps you accountable in your business. Some of the things that it had on it were listings that you took, contracts, closings, new client appointments, listing price reduction, face-to-face appointments, and then some of the hour of power and morning routine type stuff, advertising, that kind of stuff.
So how does it work? So right before you can get into that, so those are things for everybody, so everybody knows, those things give you points. And what happens is every single day our one-on-one students have to have a certain number of points. So, and those points equal process, right? They're like setting appointments and doing your hour of power and doing these kinds of things. And then you have to turn those points into your coach every single day. And you have a goal. So kind of tell people how you did, how many you shoot for every day, whatever else you want to mention about any of that.
Sure. Well, some days, the points just happen. You end up with several offers on things getting accepted. You go to listing appointments, and stuff just kind of rocks. On other days, you're so busy doing, the behind the scenes stuff, getting things ready for closings and that I'll look down and realize I only have 2 done for the day.
Right.
And so that's when I really try to kick it into gear.
So do you actually look at it? So first off, what are your goals for points every day?
I try to get 5 or more.
Okay, try to get 5 or more points, and each task or each process or each thing is worth 1 point, correct? So you know that you have to hit 5 points. What happens if you don't hit 5 points?
Then I try to dig through and figure out if there's anything I can add to the core 100, or if there are some calls I can hurry up and make to hit my prospecting calls and call that good for the day. And sometimes it's even calling a seller that you've been meaning to talk to for a while and ask for that listing price reduction. It just kind of takes you a little out of your comfort zone and makes you grab some of the things that didn't naturally happen that day.
So no matter what, you're going to hit your points is basically what you're telling me. Like, if you haven't hit your point yet, what would happen if you didn't hit your points though? Like, would you, because just a little background for everybody, because I know a lot of you were on the last call we did with Meredith. I don't remember how long ago, 6 months, whatever it was. Meredith is a one-on-one student. Meredith is somebody who was at our last Mastermind. That was in San Antonio, right? And that was an eye-opener for you, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. I mean, your business has done really well since then. It's you know, you correct me if I'm wrong, but that's been kind of a game changer for you. And so if you don't hit your points, like, does your coach hold you accountable to it? Do you guys talk about it? Do you not? What's the situation?
Yeah, we do. My coach is Donna, and I really do. I want to make her happy. I want to make her proud of me, and I don't want to disappoint her. So if she gives me homework, I work really hard at doing that, getting more business and rocking the points. And there's been a few times where I've been low on points, and we'll kind of discuss what needs to happen. But for the most part, I've really hit the point system hard. It's my daily routine now, and I don't skip it.
Yeah, and you've seen, I mean, I've had a couple of chances to talk to you now. I've been with you in San Antonio. You're coming back to New Orleans for the next Mastermind in, my God, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever that is, 3 weeks. And so I've seen a change in you, not just from the perspective of what your business is doing, but also from a mentality, right? And so we'll talk a little bit about that, but let's talk for a second about different ways that you're creating leads in your business and how your business has changed, even the structure of your business, how it's changed. So first off, leads, because obviously a business is no good without leads. What did your business look like a year ago, 2 years ago, you know, whatever it happens to be, and how does it look different now? Where do leads come from? What are you doing? Let's just kind of give people the full gamut.
Sure. The first time I ever got leads was about probably a year and a half ago. I started buying the zip codes for realtor.com. And we only have one zip code. We're in a pretty rural area, but those really convert well. It seems to be ready, willing, and able buyers if they've gone through all the effort to sign up and ask for more information. Right. Yeah, and then we started Smart Zip last fall, I believe.
Okay.
Or no, it was last summer, and that has been slower going. And so thanks to the Mastermind, the Advance last fall, I realized that it takes a lot longer to convert some of those leads.
Right.
So we expect about a 12 to 18 month conversion rate on those.
Okay, awesome. And then I know for you, because you and I have talked, one of your biggest takeaways from being at the last Mastermind and what you've done now in your business is digital, right? Like you've kind of gone all in on digital. Tell me a little bit about that. Tell me what the transformation was. Tell me what you do with that now. Like what are you doing from a digital perspective?
Yeah, well, we've done it for years where we, put the listing out there, put a new listing from our page and promoted it a little bit.
Okay. Promoted it where? I just want to make, because there's people from so many different levels that are watching right now that some don't even know what that means. So what does it mean? You take your listing and you put it where, and you promote it how, and what does that mean?
Yeah, we put it on our Facebook page for Lee Real Estate, and we'd push the boost, and we would pick our categories of people, which, usually 50-mile radius. And then we promote it for about $25. And I know
you started doing originally? That's what you started doing originally? Okay.
Yep, but only when new listings came up that we wanted to promote.
Okay.
So after the mastermind, we did more calls to action. We put it out there saying, hey, we are selling houses so fast, we might be able to sell yours before it hits the market. Or we know these financing programs that can get you in and get you closing costs paid back to you, or whatever the case may be for your individual market.
Okay.
So we started doing a little more lead generation from our page rather than just promoting a listing.
All right, so let's back up because I want to make sure people get as much out of that as possible. So you started about 18 months ago. You would take listings, put them on your business page, and you would boost them. This was prior to going to a mastermind. This was prior to being in one-on-one coaching. You were basically using that tactic.
Right.
What kind of response would you get? I know, and obviously I know where this is going to go. I don't know the answer to this question, but I know we'll cover in a second what changed after the mastermind and what you do now, what kind of results you get now. But 18 months ago when you started doing that and you started boosting and you put 25 bucks, what would the response be?
Mediocre. It was kind of cool because we could see that it was being responded to. We could see people were clicking it. So already it was, miles above newspaper. There was a response.
Okay.
But not necessarily people purchasing that house because I threw it out there to the world.
Okay, gotcha. So you would get some kind of response. What does that mean, some kind of response?
Maybe 3 comments saying, oh, cool, or, something like that. Very rarely would someone say, hey, I'd love to see this house. But that happened on occasion.
Okay, gotcha. So you were at least doing something. Maybe not. I mean, I know that when you got into the last mastermind, we kind of helped you to refine that and get actually much more specific in what you were doing and, whatever. But you at least were saying, hey, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to at least put it out there. I understand that my Sunday paper is not getting the same traction. Let me give this a shot. Right?
Exactly.
Okay. Now you went to the last mastermind, and it was a big deal for you because you were like $5,000. That's a lot of money. It was a lot of money, right? And it was also the tickets and all that other kind of stuff. You came to the last mastermind. First off, tell people, for those that didn't see the last call, how you were kind of responding when we were in that room with you trying to get you to do a very specific thing with digital advertising. You kind of were pushing back a little bit and whatever. And then what was your breakthrough? And what changed your mind? What did you start doing differently? And what was the response?
Let's see if I can keep all that straight. There were a lot of hesitations to what to put out there. We have a very small market. We have 10 offices, 40 realtors in a town of 13,000. So I have always been very scared of stepping on toes of the old realtors. And they do. Every time I do something that's digital or that's a little different, they like to put me in front of the MLS boards and things like that.
So that's happened more than once.
What's that? And
that's happened more than once.
Yes,
because in the real estate world, innovation equals violation. That's a violation of some sort. I don't know what kind, but it is. Okay.
Exactly. So, and I used to be really nervous for those meetings, and now I'm not, because I know I'm not doing anything wrong. But it was really hard in the mastermind to say, okay, I'm going to trust you guys. You know what you're doing. Let's do it.
And you fought me for a little bit. I mean, quite honestly, in the mastermind, you fought me a little bit about this is going to be, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? And you were really, really, really hesitant.
Right. I was, when you say I can sell something before it goes on the MLS, is that a violation of, am I doing something wrong as a realtor when we're supposed to be supporting the MLS? So there was a lot of internal conflict, and you guys helped me through all that. And we went for it. And we did it one for a buyer and one for a seller. And I promoted them for $25 each.
And you wrote exactly what we asked you to write while we were in that room.
Yep, word for word. And the response started happening immediately.
Right.
And I don't remember what days we were down there, but I knew I was back on a Friday. My entire Friday was listing appointments from people who had seen my ad and contacted me because they wanted me to sell their house in a hurry, or wanted me to help them into a home that they didn't know they could afford.
So you went for, I just want to make this very clear, because I think this is a big point. Whenever I do this, I'm always trying to make sure, I'm thinking about the common denominator of the people who are listening and what's going to help them the most. The biggest thing I need people to understand is that you were kind of it's so terrible to say it, but like an average agent, just making a living, doing whatever, don't want to step on any toes, don't want to whatever. We're asking you to do something that's more advanced, like this is what you need to do. Fighting back, pushing back. I kind of said in a nice way, hey, if you're going to spend all this money to come here, just listen to what I'm telling you to do right now. Otherwise, this is a complete waste of money. And by the time you left the mastermind, you were already setting up listing appointments for a whole day that went on beyond that. I know from talking to you as well, that went on beyond that as well, that you never would have had. Like, it was just like an eye opener, like, holy crap, like, wow, if this is possible, I can do this on my own. Right? Okay. So you started doing that.
It was.
Go ahead.
No, it was just incredible. One of them we even sold. I got back to town on Friday and I sold it by that Saturday night. So, and it was absolutely not somebody I would have had.
Is that a buyer or a seller?
What's that?
Was that a buyer or a seller?
Well, it ended up being both, but the seller was a direct response from the ad.
Gotcha. So you ended up getting both sides. Okay. And it kind of just opened your eyes to this is what can happen. This is what, you know, whatever. What about from the perspective, because I know that one of the major changes for you has been, and this is important for everybody to hear, your whole business structure has changed. Am I wrong? And I don't want to say anything that's not completely accurate, because you and I don't talk every single day. But I don't want to say anything that's not accurate. Your whole business structure has changed. What has changed? What was the aha? And what are you working on now? Like, what's happening?
Well, there's been too many ahas to really count or to even talk about. But the first one came at the advance last fall when the discussion of buyer's agents came up. And I thought, well, that's what we've almost got. So let's make it that way. So now I'm the listing agent for the most part, and I've got 3 buyer's agents. So that was a big structure change for us. The next big one came at the Mastermind. And of course, I've been working with Donna through this entire time. So we've been moving towards something, and then these things have just made it go faster. So yeah, now I am very selective on the listings I take. I only take past clients as buyers. So my numbers have gone down personally.
Meaning you personally, but you now have the structure in place. And I want to be clear before we move forward on that point. When you say your next aha came at the last mastermind, are you saying it was because you actually got to see Mark, who's going to be at this next one with us as well? You got to actually see his business and walk through it and like see the back end of it and how it works. Is that why, or is it something else? Because I literally don't know.
Exactly.
So I just want to make sure everybody understands.
Yep. Watching him, how his systems do a lot of the work for him, and how he's hired and trained the staff to take over everything.
Because we covered that too, like how to hire, what to, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Yep. There's a million moving pieces, but watching that happen in front of me instead of, you know,
hearing about it,
reading about it, made a huge difference.
And that probably even from your coaching side helped you with your coaching with Donna, because now you've seen it and it's like, oh, this is what we're doing right now. It's not just, you know, I did a Jared James Today Show episode where I talked about how to develop a team. And, you know, I was talking about in there how, you know, most people watching right now want to have some semblance of a team, even if it's them, an assistant, and, you know, whatever, whether it's large, small, whatever, there's some form of a team. But so many people are doing it so wrong right now, or they know, and tell me if this resonates with you or not. So they know they should have these people that are doing various things for them, but they don't really know how it works or what it looks like or what they should be looking for or what the agreements look like or how it should be structured or whatever. And so they just kind of go, oh, I'm going to try to get this person to be my buyer's agent. And it ends up just being a wreck. It ends up taking more of their time, more of their energy, costing them money. And they're like, wow, this just doesn't work, because they weren't really sure how to do it correctly. Would that apply to you or not apply to you?
It does. Part of it is, you know, you have the fear of delegating something because you worked so hard to make it the way you want it to be.
Especially in a small community, by the way, where your name.
Yeah.
Okay. And then so then you obviously, we were talking about how your structure has changed as a result of your coaching and being at that mastermind and now doing, you know, and seeing how it's done. How has your structure changed? How are you structured now?
Well, and I take on the listings, and I've got 3 buyer's agents, and I've got a great assistant. And now I know that they're fully trained, so I can leave them to do the work and know that it will be done as well as if I were doing it myself.
How do you know they're fully trained?
I train
Okay. How did you know what to train them with? I mean, like, this is the kind of stuff people want to know. And by the way, back a second. So I take this, they do this. We talked about leads earlier. So to make sure for everybody, you have leads coming in from SmartZip. You have leads coming in from Realtor.com. If I remember correctly, you're also, you have leads coming in. You use our marketing department to create seller leads. Where do those leads go, and how does that work?
You know, at this point, they still come to me first. They go into the Wise agent, our CRM.
Yep.
And I see them first. And then
and that's intentional.
Manually promote.
That's intentional.
It is. I'm hoping to at some point have them on a round robin, but because I know my buyer's agent's capabilities, I've got one who's going through a wedding, one who's trying to move. You know, sometimes it's just easier for me to take them and get them to the right person at that right time. So the ultimate plan is for all 3 of them to have a schedule that allows for it to be a round robin.
Wouldn't you say, though, I want to just go to that point for a second, because I think again, this is very important for people to understand. One of the reasons you're doing this, and one of the reasons I love having you on here, is because you're a work in progress. So like, you're further along than the last time you and I talked. And so many times I interview people, or we interview people who are there. You know what I mean? It's like, they're Mark, you know, like Mark is just opened another, you know, business just like his in Tampa, you know, and then Mark also took his model that we taught at the Mastermind, or we'll be teaching at this next Mastermind, where his business partner just opened up that same model in Toronto. And in the first 6 months of never doing residential before, has done 28 million in sales volume. Like, you know, so for you, what I love about you is that when you say that you are manually giving off, the leads are coming in and you're manually giving them off, that would seem like a contradiction, because that's not what I teach. It's like, no, like, you got to have automated, you got to have whatever. But the reason you're doing that right now is because for you, it's a best use of time. You're still learning all of your systems and how you want it to work. And before you scale further, you want to make sure there's no kinks right now so that you don't scale an issue, right? I mean, isn't that kind of, just from our conversation earlier, isn't that kind of what you're doing?
Exactly. I need to make sure still that there's no balls dropped by handing them to the wrong person at the wrong time. But that's absolutely something in the next 6 months that will be fully automated.
I love it. So you're basically growing at the rate that you think is the proper way to grow, so that you can grow in a healthy way, so that as you scale more and more, you know, it's done in the right way, and you really can step back more and more, because, right? Yeah. And what's been the result of that? Because this was really interesting to me, what you said to me before, because you, although you run your office like a team, you technically own the office. So tell everyone kind of where you're at and what that's done to you, your rankings and such. Like, what's that?
Well, I do our, you know, numbers against the MLS every month, just to see where we're at with everything. And I've worked really hard in the last 2 years to be the number 2 agent in the area. We've got one who at this point is still a little untouchable. We'll get there. But I'm not number 2 right now. I have gone down in rankings because my team has gone up. So at this point, I have 5 agents that are in the top 10.
Gotcha.
So yeah, my office is going way up. But me personally, I'm doing exactly what I wanted to do. And with Donna's help, I'm cutting back and not doing as many evenings and weekends. And with, you know, some of the systems and everything, I'm doing a little bit less. And it's hard, but it's good.
But it's because you're an office. If you were a team, like if you were under an office and you're running like a team, but you just, technically your team, but you guys call it you're an office because you own it, your rankings would go up, everything would be under you. But because you're doing it in a way that you're an independent and you own it, everybody gets counted individually. And that obviously, how has it been, how are you deciding now? And is it difficult or not difficult? Well, let me even back up even further. So we know where you're getting some leads from, like you said, our marketing program, from Smart Zip, from Realtor.com. What else are you guys doing, especially when we talk about from a points perspective? What else are you guys doing? Are you doing your hours of powers? How are you reaching out to people? How often are you reaching out to people? What's that look like?
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing some just listed postcards. We're doing some sold in 3 days kinds of things. So we're not denying the mail and some of our other advertising, but I like the more measurable things that we've been doing lately.
You really kind of like went all in on digital though.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
And it's nice. I like to see the impact it's actually having. I like to see how many people actually clicked through the ad and how many eyeballs saw the ad. That's kind of fun to.
It's measurable, right? And isn't that part of your coaching too? Is that it's like, look, if it's not measurable,
Absolutely.
like we need to be able to measure. We need to run a business. We need to be able to measure, right? I mean, remember when you were at the Mastermind with Mark again at the last one, and the reason why his business was so predictable is that we knew the exact dollar amount that it would take to create the lead, how many leads he needed to create an appointment, how many appointments it took to create a transaction, how many, like, we knew all of that. That's part of, everything's got to be measurable, which digital does for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Between the coaching and the Mastermind and everything, I didn't know the numbers last year. I had no idea how many transactions we had done at this point, or how many transactions were set to close, or what we were on track for, any of that kind of stuff. Yeah. I imagine most realtors are like this, where you just work really hard and you try to make all the money.
Nobody's like that. I deal with these people all the time. I'm just kidding. Everybody's like, yeah.
And I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only disorganized one. But apparently you guys hear this all the time. So you just fit me right into a systemized approach. And that's where these points come in so handy. I see exactly what I need to do each day to get business done, not hurrying up and selling houses done.
That was probably another eye opener, seeing Mark too, and just seeing, like, he's like, well, let me show you this, and let me open it up. Here's exactly this. Here's what we have for this. I have a form over here that tells me this percentage of this. And, you start to realize, oh, that's an actual business, right?
Right.
So all the talk of digital and everything else, what about past people? What about sphere of influence? Are you still working those? Are you still, what's going on?
Absolutely. And that's the only buyers I'm taking as past clients and my immediate sphere of influence. I will still sell them houses. Those are my buddies. I'm happy to do that. But I get most of my direct business from the Ultimate Frisbee team that I play on and sponsor every week. I get a lot of past clients after 12 years. I have a lot of people who are ready to invest or move on to their second, third home. So I work them very regularly. We do Mayday baskets, or we do newsletters saying something new is happening, or whatever the case.
There's always got to be something new, right? There's a reason why you're reaching out.
Yep, exactly.
How often do you touch your sphere? How often do you touch your sphere? Like, how often?
At least once every 3 months, but I would say that my immediate sphere, every week. There's not a single one that would forget that I'm in real estate.
Right. That's awesome. How do you determine, because I'm hearing all this and I know how you're growing right now, like I know what's going on, and I know your personality is like, I keep going back to it because, again, it's such like a game-changing thing when you see what Mark's doing and you hear about him doing that office in Tampa and all this other stuff. How do you determine, after watching that and seeing that, oh, here's what I need to do, and I need to be a little more hands-off, and I've got to run this business, so to say. How do you determine what you're willing to delegate, what you're not, and is it difficult?
It's incredibly difficult. And I was telling you earlier that I had seen a Snapchat that you had done where you mowed your lawn still because you enjoyed it. And the things I enjoy, I do all my own Facebook ads. I tweak them 30 times before I'm ready to promote them. And then I have them proofread, and then I, boost them and everything. And I'm not willing or able to give that up. I enjoy it, and I don't trust people to do it my way.
You like doing the marketing side. You like seeing the response that comes from it. You like being able to instantaneously tweak it. And just so everybody knows, the snap that that Meredith is talking about is that last week, you all know that it's a common thing, right? Like friends that are millionaires. I have, whatever. And like the whole thing is you never do anything that is below the hourly rate that you would take for anything. And overall, I'm a believer of that. One time I had Bridget on here, Martin, and she says one of her aha moments is when I said to her, would you work for $10 an hour? And she said, absolutely not. And I said, then why are you? Because she was doing things, licking stamps and doing, whatever, that just weren't things she should be doing. But there are other factors that come into play when you're growing and you're doing stuff, which is the enjoyability of it, right? Like I could pay someone was, and that's why it came up, because somebody was surprised that I was mowing my lawn. And I said, I mow my lawn because I enjoy mowing my lawn, not because I can't afford the $50 to have someone else do it. Technically it'd be cheaper for me to have someone else take my kids to sports practice, but I enjoy that, and so on one hand, I absolutely think that there are things you need to be doing that you enjoy doing, and that's a factor, how much you enjoy something. But overall in your business, I'm a huge believer that when it comes to the mundane, that kind of stuff, it's just not, there's no ROI in that. Give me an example of something you've had to let go of that was like, I don't know, like that's tough. Like I don't really want to let go of that. Like I do that. What if it gets screwed up?
Right. Well, and one of those was taking pictures of listings. I've always done it. I have my way of going through a house, and I've passed that off to my assistant. And there's a lot of other things that I have her do. I do property management too, and it kind of fills in some of the gaps income-wise in the winter. And so she's taken on 100% of that. And we make mistakes. Sometimes I'll catch a mistake. She wrote a check out and I go and sign it and it's wrong. Big deal. It still saved me hours by just finding one mistake.
Gotcha.
But there's been a lot of that kind of stuff. When buyers come in, being able to pass them on to a buyer's agent makes a world of difference.
Because your name is on. And is there ever that fear, like you had said to me when we were talking beforehand, that through the branding you're doing, through the stuff you've learned and the branding you're doing, you're kind of not just becoming, but you become kind of a name in your area, right? That's right. True, right? Like, and where do you think that comes from? Why do you think you become so much more of a name? Where are they seeing you ever? Like, what is happening? And what effect does that have on your business?
Well, yeah, they see it everywhere. Every week someone says, man, your real estate signs are everywhere. Or, one person came out to me and said, you're that realtor from Facebook. And so they see it in every place. And so it works for them. Like the Smart Zip postcards that get sent out, those have my face and my logo on them.
Right.
And nobody looks at it and thinks, who's that? And throws it away.
Perfect.
They look at it and say, oh, that's Meredith. Then they throw it away.
Yeah.
But at least they all know who I am first. And so passing something along to somebody else is scary unless they're going to do it the same way that I would.
Right. Unless they're following your system. Like they're actually... So that's an interesting thing, because I always say like there's two forms of marketing that we use that are both effective. And one is a direct call to action. Another one is a branding, right? Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing I do with my videos, where if you watch a Jared James Today Show episode or one of the training episodes or something like that, it's very direct call to action. It's not like our virtual students or someone else. It's giving them just enough information to say, hey, now here's how you get into coaching to get more whatever. But then there's the day in the life stuff, day in the life of Jared James, which is much more branding. There's no call to action. There's no anything. But why do I do that? I do that for the same reason that we have you doing what you're doing, which is you may not get a direct call to action or a direct result at that moment with all the branding you're doing and the teams that you're supporting and the, even some of the Facebook stuff or whatever. But now when you do send out a mailer, or you do go out on a listing appointment, or you do a direct call to action Facebook ad that goes out, or you do whatever it happens to be, the context is already where now that branding comes in. And even though they're seeing you there and there's that direct call to action, they're going, oh, Meredith, I see her all the time. And now your credibility is so much higher, and closing is not as difficult as it would have been if you would have had to have created that already, because now you're so believable. And so now the two types of marketing intertwine, and it makes your job a lot easier. Have you found that, or are you still kind of building that, or where are you at?
Yeah, absolutely. I get a lot of phone calls. I get a lot of walk-ins. I still get a lot of people that just know this is where my office is, know this is where Meredith is. And so it's always, the name is out there, the logo is out there. It's 100% all the time. People see it.
Has it been difficult? Because now you're spending money on marketing and doing those kinds of things. Was that a difficult transition for you? And again, we didn't talk about this, but I'm just curious. I'm always trying to think about what other people would want to hear if they were coming from. That's why I think you're so relatable, because you didn't start at, whatever. You're growing right now, and you started, in a low price point area with, whatever. How'd you get to that point? Like, how did you get to the point? Did you start increasing your marketing and reinvesting, or what did you do?
I moved my dollars from elsewhere. I bought the business from my broker about 3 years ago, and she always did certain ads. She always did certain radio, that kind of stuff. And so the money she was doing to that, I kept it the same until I realized it wasn't working. So I had those, that $1,000 every month or whatever that had gone to print ads.
Yeah.
And I refocused it to, so people my age would see it, because I might never sell houses to a certain age group or a certain group of people, but people my age should always want to buy a house from me, and people younger should always want to buy a house from my young agents. And I feel that that's pretty true. So we want to make sure we're hitting those people where they see it.
I love that. So that right there, the one thing I want people to pick up from what you just said right there is that you've made a decision that you're not going to get everyone, but you are going to own the people who should be working with you. Okay.
Right.
Which I'm going to bring it right back, because we run a business just like you guys run a business, right? And that is essentially a decision we've made as well, is that, look, there are people in our industry that are 95 years old, that are old followers of Mike Ferry and, his way, and they're never going to go, and that's great, whatever. Like, that's not low-hanging fruit. But we've made a decision as a company that everyone that gets into this business and everybody who understands these interwebs and watches, YouTube and does, whatever, that we are going to be the option, because they should be working. And it's the same thing. It's just making yourself an option, right?
Yeah.
What was so I'm going to ask you twofold right now, okay? Number one, what do you think your biggest benefit is of being in one-on-one coaching? What's the biggest thing it does for you? Like, and I haven't asked you this. I think people want to hear.
Yep. It's accountability. Donna gives me homework, and some of it is very basic business stuff that I just never bother doing. And I do it. And except for the last time, I got too busy in the last 2 weeks. And so I have like a big pile of homework to do for her. But knowing that every 2 weeks I have to have my stuff done, and I have to show that I listened and I completed it, and here's where I still need help to fix something. And I have somebody that's always there to help me with that.
And you're always doing something for your business then. Like, it doesn't allow you to just be running around, whatever. It's like, no, we're going to focus on this. Because if you don't focus on this, you're not going to have business. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
What would you say the biggest takeaway was? I mean, you're coming to the next advance too. What would you say the biggest takeaway was from the last advance for you? I mean, not advance, the last mastermind for you.
Right. And that feels more like the one-on-one coaching, only mushed together. If we do an hour-long call every 2 weeks, the mastermind is 16 of those put together.
Right.
And so it played so well with the one-on-one coaching, because Donna and I got to jump a couple steps then, and then now we're going to get to again. So,
you got to get kind of in that room and just like expedite everything, and then go, okay, now let's work on it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's in one way it's completely different, and part of that's because it's you and Mark instead of Donna. But they just integrate and play so well together that it just feels like it takes me, up that mountain that I'm going to constantly climb.
Like you had a little helicopter that raised you up a little bit further I got you. Where would you say right now? And again, I want complete honesty. Like, whenever we do these for our students, I don't want any like fake, tell them what they want to hear, what they think I want you to say, or whatever it is. Where are you right now with your systems? Because like I have such a focus on, look, you need systems. Where are you right now with your systems?
I'm a 1 out of 10.
Okay.
And I've got a long ways to go. And part of my problem there.
By the way, I don't think you're a 1 out of 10. You're being tough on yourself. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, there's so much up.
Right. There's so much more.
To go. Yeah, but when I went to the advanced, I was overwhelmed and excited. So I did them all. I got them all. And instead of working on one at a time and mastering or even kind of mastering before moving to the next one, I just overwhelmed my whole workload.
Yeah.
And so there's a long way to go on all of them, but now like I've gotten a little bit more focused. Donna is saying, okay, work on this one, then we'll move on to the next one. Work on this one and that one. Now we can move on to the next one.
Right. You know, I wish I could show you some of the people in our database who would look at you as a 1 out of 10 and say, then what am I?
Yeah, well, and it's embarrassing where I started, but yeah.
You know where you want to go. You know just how how systematized you want to be, right? Like you're getting there. You've put some of them in. I mean, you've already, like you said, you've got your stuff hooked into your CRM, you know, but you're still manual, like passing them off to them so that you can see, you know, who you want to send to and how they're dealing with those potential leads, so you can determine who's going to get what. But you know, there's still so much more to go for you. Like there's so much more you can do. Exactly.
I plan to someday go back to taking vacations again and that kind of stuff and having the work done while I'm gone.
Yes.
And I'm nowhere near that quite yet.
Yeah. And that's 100%. Again, I think it's why you're coming back to the next mastermind, right? Because that's what Mark does. I mean, Mark's on vacation right now. Like that's, you know, Mark's at a place where he's got a guy, I think last time this was the case too, he had just hired the guy who runs his business. And then he comes back and he's active, and believe me, Mark cares about his business. But he also cares about growth, and he cares about having a legacy, and he cares about having a future for him and his family, and he cares about, and so ultimately, similar to what you're going to have to do, or other people that will be in that room in New Orleans with us, they're going to have to make a determination on which one do they care about more. Do I care more about my fear and my struggle to delegate and to do things that make me uncomfortable, and to take the time to set up proper systems, or do I care more about actually creating a lasting legacy and having a business that produces for years to come, you know, that I'm willing to put the work in right now to do that, you know, like that's really the decision people have to make, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm going to ask you one more question, but before I do that, is there anything that I haven't asked you that you feel like would be amiss if we didn't mention to them or anything? I don't even know if there would be. That's why I want to make sure.
I don't think so.
All right. So I have to end with this then, because we are 3 weeks out from Mastermind. This week we're doing a systems webinar with Mark. First off, you would obviously highly recommend everybody does that free systems webinar on Thursday. There's a link right below you guys. Make sure you get your whole office, whatever, to register for that. It's going to be me and Mark talking about systems. Like, it's going to be really good for you, okay? What would you say to people that, like you, are considering coming to something like we're doing a Mastermind August 2nd and 3rd in New Orleans, where we lock up in a suite for 2 days? You're going to be there again with us. You're coming back a second time. What would you say to people that say, you know, $5,000's a lot of money, I don't know if I could do that, or I don't know if I should do that, or I don't know if, you know, whatever, and they're afraid of losing $5,000, right? What would you say to those people? I don't know what you're going to say, but what would you say?
I don't think there would be a way to lose 5,000 with the amount of information. If you grab one piece of information from the Mastermind, then you will have gotten your return. Like I said, I had my return, you know,
multiply
as soon as we closed 6 weeks after Mastermind.
Yeah.
And then it happened again and again and again. All those were a direct response to what we learned at Mastermind.
Right. So it's not the $5,000 they're losing. It's the however many tens, hundreds of thousands you give up by not learning that information, right?
Exactly. I wouldn't go back again if I didn't think I could have the same return.
Right. Awesome. That puts the pressure on us. I think we can do that. I'm super excited about having you back there too. If anybody has a question for you, how should they send you a question? What's the easiest way to send you a question?
Probably through Facebook. I'm Meredith Lee on there. You can find me in the Jared James coaching group. I'm always posting in there.
Okay. And I think Donna actually just posted in our group and tagged you in the group there. You're getting a lot of congrats from people in the group. Someone wants to know here, so actually I'm not going to let you go just yet because people have questions. Guys, if you have questions, post them in our group right now or tweet them to me right now. First question someone has is, first off, congrats, Meredith. Do you do any advertising on Zillow, and what are your thoughts?
No, again, we have a very small market here, and one person has already claimed Zillow. And I tried to, I think it's a Premier Agent or whatever it is that they have on there. It got me nothing. So I tried it for 3 months, got nowhere with it. I am fine with people reviewing me on Zillow, but that's not something in our area that gives results.
Right. Somebody asked, and it looks like you've, I think you kind of answered it, but I'll give you a chance again. They said they're thinking of the mastermind you already went. How come you're going again? Because, I mean, you went, how long ago was that? That was like less than 6 months, right?
Yeah, that was February.
Okay.
Yeah. I got so much from, and honestly, I was thinking about going to the Inman Connect in San Francisco in the first week of August. So I was trying to arrange everything to make that happen. And then when this came up at that same time, I thought, why would I go to Inman when I can go to something that I know I'll get the value tenfold?
Right.
So I feel like I went really, really far with the mastermind. I feel like I can go really, really farther
right.
this time around.
And let's face it, even some of the stuff you'll hear again, you're going to just even get even more from it now, because you'll hear it differently because of your filter, like where you're coming from, the different place that you're in. That's how information works. Like everything we hear comes from the filter through which that we hear it, right? I mean, that's really what we see all over the news right now. People watch the same news broadcast and have two completely different responses because of the filter that they hear things through. So I think just that alone, we have some new things planned. But then some of the information is also stuff we were teaching last time that you'll get even more from, because you're in a different place now to actually hear that. So I think that's fantastic. All right. So again, best way you want them to contact you?
Through Facebook.
Okay, and that's tagged, guys, in the Facebook group if you go below here. I hope we'll get a chance, guys. As I've said all the time, obviously, Meredith says Mastermind was a great thing for her. You know what the cool thing is, too, about the Mastermind? Let's be honest. So you and I are talking right now. We're doing this interview thing. We get to hang out. Like, aside from those, you know, you're in there for hours and hours in that suite, you know, from the morning until 6, 6:30, 5:30, depending on the day. And then it's nice. You get to just go and relax, right? You get to go get to know each other, talk a little bit more. You get some more information, and you get to really kind of get to know each other, which I think has been beneficial for us, because I know you now, you know me. If you have a question, I'm here for you. We're doing this stuff now, which it kind of separates you, because let's face it, there's a lot of people in our programs, in our database, and whatever it may be. And now you not only have me you're getting to know, but Mark is a huge asset. Like, Mark knows his stuff, you know, like this is why Mark's coming to do this with me. I say it all the time. One of the things I love about Mark, and I'm not saying anything Mark hasn't heard before, Mark's not like going to go up and do a one-man show on Broadway, you know, like with that kind of, he just follows what you tell him, and he implements, and he got his systems in place, and he makes sure that his ROI is there, and he just follows what you say, and he gets amazing results. And so it's different hearing it from him than hearing it from me. You know, I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make any sense? But yeah.
Well, and even the group of, the small group of people that you meet there, I have been bouncing ideas off of them through emails and things like that since we've been back.
Right.
So I could talk to them because we all heard the same information, and we all could take something different from it. We are all in different areas and places in our coaching. And so it's been a really nice network to have.
Right. Someone else just asked a question. Jolenta, what's going on? She said, I think I remember Meredith saying at some point she didn't have a program for tracking her past clients. Wondering, that must have been on a past one or something like that. Wondering if she has something now and whether she's happy with it. 13 years in the business, and I haven't sorted this basic question out yet.
Thank you. I'm so glad I'm not the only one. I have started using Wise Agent, and we have been putting in all of our past clients. And that's one of the things that we dig through regularly to find closing dates, to find their addresses, all that stuff that we have the information on. We're now putting it in the same place, and then we can get their anniversary dates. We can get all that kind of stuff through our Wise Agent.
You know what's funny about that? It's such a simple answer, but it's just the truth. Like, you just have to start. Like, that's it. Like, so you're using Wise Agent. Someone else is using something else. Somebody else is using something else. The bottom line is, though, you've just finally started. Like, everybody who comes in, this is what happens. This is how they're tagged. We got to get all those people. That's the hard work, getting all the past people in, you know, that you haven't been taken care of. But starting now, it's just a part of your process now, right? I mean, now it's part of your process, right? Like, it's going in, it's getting tagged.
Yeah, when I first got Wise Agent a few months ago, or 6 months ago, or whatever, I started putting 10 in a day, and it was too mind-numbing and frustrating to do it. So I switched to about 5 a day. So it took a long time to get it done, but that's how much I could handle before going crazy. I
love that. So you just started doing that. Now, I don't know the answer. Did that have anything to do with your coaching, or that was just you going, we're going to do 5?
A little bit.
Because that sounds like a Donna thing to be like, let's do 5 every day.
You probably told me 10, and I probably could handle 5.
Let's just do 5, 5, 5, 5, because you know that you'll handle that, right? But here's the important thing to remember. So, Jolenta, this is to you. And she wrote, thank you. And even if I have a CMS, I should get a separate system, correct? That's the part I'm having trouble wrapping my head around. Yeah, so that's a good point. So she said, even if I have a CMS, which we would call a CRM, I should get a separate system. Your system, we didn't talk a whole lot about this, but part of the whole points and winning the points and doing that stuff is that you are making regular contact with your sphere and those past people, and making phone calls and sending them stuff. And, you know, like, that's part of your whole, like, system with your CRM, is like who to contact and when to do it. And I mean, that's all part of it, right?
Right. Donna helped me with a year-long marketing plan, and she's just made some adjustments to it as well.
About to get released to all the one-on-one students, just so you know. We just finalized it this morning.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, I got to read through a bunch of it, and that's exactly it. So January, I might do past clients, or you know, sometime where it makes sense. February, I might do door knocking or something. I don't like to door knock.
Whatever it is. Yeah, you're just saying you're setting up a 12-month plan.
Exactly. So that way, everyone's getting hit, but nobody's getting over hit. And like I said, my sphere is just constantly bombarded with me, not with me selling houses.
Yeah. You know what it is? Here's the power of having a schedule. Like, when you set that 12-month marketing plan, which, by the way, all one-on-ones, that's being, I think, released this week. We just finalized it today. When you do that, it's kind of like, a lot of people don't want to go visit their mother-in-law, but when Thanksgiving is on the calendar, that's what you do. You get up and you go, and I love my mother. I'm just saying in general, like, people, like, you know what I'm saying? Though people don't want to do certain things like that, but when it's on the calendar and that's what you do on this day, that's what you do. And so when you look at what we're doing now with our one-on-ones and what was happening with you, you were kind of the guinea pig for that thing, where it's the 12-month marketing plan, and this is what you do on this day because it's Christmas. This is what you do on this day because it's 4th of July. This is what you do. You see what I'm saying? Yep. That's really what that makes you do. And as old school as that is, that's a system. Everybody thinks a system is something that, you know, pops up and a robot makes you dinner and does, you know, whatever. That's a system because it makes you stay on track. It reminds you what has to happen. That's what's going on, right? I want to say really quickly, you mentioned earlier Snapchat. I put a thing up on Snapchat yesterday about execution, about how powerful execution is. Like, you have to execute, execute, execute. And I did this little story where I talked about, you know, the day before, everybody saw me having fun and joking around, and I was out for my anniversary just like joking around and making fun of this guy that looked like a gigolo with these 13 ladies surrounding him, and I'm just messing around, right? And I get asked all the time, like, what's the difference between you and so many other people? Like, how do I, this isn't exactly what they're saying, but like, how do I become successful? How do I, and the short answer is not by not having fun or being a stiff or something. It's by executing. You know, I posted a picture on Facebook yesterday, and I posted it on Snapchat as well, you know, running 8 miles and burning 1,500 calories. And I said, look, to all of you that watch my YouTube videos, thank you. For all of you that follow my stuff, appreciate it. For all of you that snap me back with hashtag did you sweat today when you're working out, it means the world to me. But understand that watching me work out and sweat, watching my videos on YouTube, doing all that stuff, signing up for coaching, doing all these other things will never burn 1 calorie off your body or put $1 in your bank account, period. You have to do it for yourself. You have to execute, period. And I think that's really what right now with you, after going to the advanced, then going to the mastermind, and now being in the one-on-one and just doing like, I got to put 5 names a day. Nobody can do that for you. You simply have to execute, period. That's it. You know, no one can do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Any closing thoughts? Anything else you want to add before we, hold on, we have another question. I'm sorry, I keep making you think we're leaving, but we're not. That one's more of a question for me. Actually, someone just posted in the group for one-on-one coaching that doesn't apply to you at all, so don't even worry about that. Guys, with that being said, number 1, as I said, below, register for Thursday's free webinar on systems. You're going to want to be on that. Get your whole office, your colleagues, guys. I mean, it's free. I don't do a ton of these, so get them on there. That'd be awesome. And then second off, some of you need to just get off the fence and get to the mastermind. I mean, that's what you did, Meredith, the first time. It was scary. Remember? I mean, you were kind of like, I don't know if I can do this. This is a lot of money. What if it doesn't? Can you imagine if you didn't go? Like, guys, there's only so many spots. At just about every one, somebody gets closed out. I feel bad, especially our coaching students, which always makes me feel really bad. We're doing a big webinar this week, which we're going to get signups. It's going to close out. So if that's you, let's talk. Fill out the thing below. Let's do a consult, talk about it. It's not for everybody. If you're somebody who's trying to go from 15 to 18 transactions, this is not for you, okay? We're trying to show you how to actually grow the business side of your business and really run something that benefits you for years and years to come, and really expedite that process and have a good time while we're at it. So with that being said, guys, if you can do me a favor, just post in our group or send a message to Meredith. Thank her for giving of her time again. Just hang on here after I say goodbye, Meredith, because it'll stop recording, but you'll still be there. But if you guys want to give her a thanks, that's awesome. If you want to ask her questions, fantastic. But I always appreciate it when somebody's willing to come on and just be themselves and say, here's what I'm doing, here's what's going on, here's where I'm at, the truth of the situation. And I hope you guys appreciate that as well, okay? Make sure you're following on Snapchat at Jared James Today. Meredith, I don't know if you want people following you on there or not, so you don't seem to care. Anyway, guys, we'll talk.
I'm Emily Realtor.
Yeah. We'll talk to you guys soon. Hopefully see some of you soon. Have a great one.